The Untouchables. Who were they and why they became untouchables? By Baba Sahib Ambedkar. Part 5, Chapter 13. What made the Brahmins become vegetarians? The non Brahmins have evidently undergone a revolution. From being beef eaters to have become non beef eaters was indeed a revolution. But if the non Brahmins underwent one revolution, the Brahmins had undergone two. They gave up beef eating, which was one revolution. To have given up meat eating altogether and become vegetarians was another revolution. That this was a revolution is beyond question, for as has been shown in the previous chapters, there was a time when the Brahmins were the greatest beef eaters. Although the non Brahmins did eat beef, they could not have done it every day. The cow was a costly animal, and the non Brahmins could ill afford to slaughter it for just food. He only did it on special occasion when his religious duty or personal interest to propitiate a deity compelled him to do. But the case with the Brahmin was different. He was a priest. In a period overwritten by ritualism, there was hardly a day on which there was no cow sacrifice to which the Brahmin was not invited by some non Brahmin. For the Brahmin, every day was a beefsteak day. The Brahmins were therefore the greatest beef eaters. The yajna of the Brahmins was nothing but the killing of innocent animals carried on in the name of religion with pomp and ceremony, with an attempt to enshroud it in mystery with a view to conceal their appetite for beef. Some idea of this mystery, pomp, and ceremony can be had from the directions contained in the Atreya Brahmana touching the killing of animals in a yajna. The actual killing of the animal is preceded by certain initiatory rites, accompanied by incantations too long and too many to be detailed here. It is enough to give an idea of the main features of the sacrifice. The sacrifice commences with the erection of the sacrificial post called the yupa, to which the animal is tied before it is slaughtered. After setting out why the yupa is necessary, the Atreya Brahmana proceeds to state what it stands for. It says, "This yupa is a weapon. Its point must have 8 edges, for a weapon or iron club has 8 edges. Whenever he strikes with it an enemy or adversary, he kills him. This weapon serves to put down him, everyone, who is to be put down by him, the sacrificer. The yupa is a weapon which stands erected, being ready to slay an enemy. Thence, an enemy of the sacrificer who might be present at the sacrifice comes off all ill after having seen the yupa of such or such one. The selection of the wood to be used for the yupa is made to vary with the purposes which the sacrificer wishes to achieve by the sacrifice. The Atreya Brahmana says, "He who desires heaven ought to make his yupa of khadira wood, for the gods conquered the celestial world by means of yupa made of khadira wood. In the same way, the sacrificer conquers the celestial world by means of a yupa made of khadira wood. He who desires food and wishes to grow fat ought to make his yupa of bilva wood. For the bilva tree bears fruits every year. It is a symbol of fertility, for it increases every year in size from the roots up to the branches. Therefore, it is a symbol of fatness. He who, having such a knowledge, makes his yupa of bilva wood, makes fat his children and cattle. As regards the yupa made of bilva wood, it is further to be remarked that they call light bilva. He who has such a knowledge becomes a light among his own people, the most distinguished among his own people. He who desires beauty and sacred knowledge ought to make his yupa of palasa wood, for the palasa is among the trees of beauty and sacred knowledge. He who, having such a knowledge, makes his yupa of palasa wood, becomes bountiful, beautiful, and acquires sacred knowledge. As regards the yupa made of palasa wood, there is further to be remarked that the palasa is the womb of all trees. Thence they speak on account of the palasam, that is foliage, of this or that tree, i.e., they call the foliage of every tree palasa. He who has such a knowledge obtains the gratification of any desire he might have regarding all trees. That is, he obtains from all trees anything he might wish for. This is followed by the ceremony of anointing the sacrificial post. The Advaryu says to the Hotar, "We anoint the sacrificial post Yupa. Repeat the mantra required." The Hotar then repeats the verse Amjanti Tvam Advare 381. That is, the priests anoint thee, O tree, with celestial honey, butter, provide us with wealth if thou standest here erected, or if thou art lying on thy mother earth. The celestial honey is the melted butter with which the priests anoint the yupa. The second half verse from provide us means thou mayest stand or lie, provide us with wealth. The Hotar then repeats Jata Jayate Suddinadve 385, i.e., after having been born, he, the Yupa, is growing to serve in the prime of his life the sacrifice of mortal men. The wise are busy in decorating him, the Yupa, with skill. He, as an eloquent messenger of the gods, lifts his voice that it might be heard by the gods. He, the Yupa, is called Jata, that is born, because he is born by the recital of the first quarter of the verse. By the word Vardhamana, that is growing, they make him, the Yupa, grow in this manner. By the words Punanti, that is to clean or decorate, they clean him in this manner. By the words he as an eloquent messenger, he announces the Yupa the fact of his existence to the gods. The Hotar then concludes the ceremony of anointing the sacrificial post with the verse Yuva Subhasah Parivitta 384, that is, the youth decorated with ribands have arrived. He is finer than all trees which ever grew. The wise priests raise him up under recital of well framed thoughts of their mind. The youth decorated with ribands is the vital air, the soul, which is covered by the limbs of the body. By the words he is finer, he means that he, the Yupa, is becoming finer, more excellent, beautiful by this mantra. The next ceremony is the carrying of fire around the sacrificial animal. The Atreya Brahmana gives the following directions on this point, which says, when the fire is carried around the animal, the Advaryu says to the Hotar, repeat thy mantras. The Hotar then repeats this triplet of verses addressed to Agni and composed in the Gayatri meter. Agnir Hotar no Advare, that 4.15.13. That is, 1. Agni, our priest, is carried around like a horse. He who is among gods is the god of sacrifices. 2. Like a charioteer, Agni passes thrice by the sacrifice. To the gods he carries the offerings. 3. The master of food, the seer of Agni, went around the offering. He bestows riches on the sacrificer. When the fire is carried around the animal, then he makes him Agni prosper by means of his own deity and by his own meter. As a horse he is carried means they carry him as if he were a horse round about. Like a charioteer, Agni passes thrice by the sacrifice means he goes around the sacrifice like a charioteer, that is swiftly. He is called Vajapati, master of food, because he is the master of different kinds of food. The other Varyu says, give Hotar the additional order for dispatching offerings to the gods. The Hotar then says to the slaughterers, ye divine slaughterers, commence your work, as well as ye who are human. That is to say, he orders all the slaughterers among gods as well as among men to commence. Bring hither the instruments for killing, ye who are ordering the sacrifice in behalf of the two masters of the sacrifice. The animal is the offering, the sacrificer, the master of the offering. Thus, he, the Hotar, makes prosper the sacrificer by means of his, the sacrificer's own offering. Thence they truly say, for whatever deity the animal is killed, that one is the master of the offering. If the animal is to be offered to one deity only, the priest should say, May the Patai, to the master of the sacrifice, singular. If to two deities, then he should use the dual to both masters of the offering. And if to several, then he should use the plural to the masters of the offering. This is the established custom. Bring ye for him fire, for the animal when carried to the slaughter saw death before it. Not wishing to go to the gods, the god said to it, Come, we will bring thee to heaven. The animal consented and said, One of you should walk before me. They consented. Agni then walked before it, and it followed after Agni. Thence they say, Every animal belongs to Agni, for it followed after him. Thence they carry before the animal fire, Agni. Spread the sacred grass. The animal lives on herbs. He, the Hotar, thus provides the animal with its entire soul, the herbs being supposed to form part of it. After the ceremony of carrying fire around the animal comes the delivery of the animal to the priests for sacrifice. Who should offer the animal for sacrifice? On this point, the direction of the Yatreya Brahman is The mother, the father, the brother, sister, friend, and companion should give this animal up for being slaughtered. When these words are pronounced, they seize the animal which is regarded as entirely given up by its relations, parents, etc. On reading this direction, one wonders why almost everybody is required to join in offering the animal for sacrifice. The reason is simple. There were altogether 17 Brahmin priests who were entitled to take part in performing the sacrifice. Naturally enough, they wanted the whole carcass to themselves. Indeed, they could not give enough to each of the 17 priests unless they had the whole carcass to distribute. Legally, the Brahmins could not claim the whole carcass unless everybody who could not claim any right over the animal had been divested of it. Hence, the direction requiring even the companion of the sacrificer to take part in offering the animal. Then comes the ceremony of actually killing the animal. The Atriya Brahmana gives the details of the mode and manner of the killing of the animal. Its directions are: turn its feet northwards, makes, make its eye to go to the sun, dismiss its breath to the wind, its life to the air, its hearing to the directions, its body to the earth. In this way, he, the Hutar, places it, connects it with these words. Take off the skin entire without cutting it before operating the navel, tear out omentum. Stop its breathing within by stopping its mouth. Thus he, the Hutar, puts its breath in the animals. Make of its breast a piece like an eagle, of its arm two pieces, two hatchets of its forearms, two pieces like two spikes of its shoulders, two pieces like two kashyapas. Its loin should be unbroken, entire. Make of its thighs two pieces like two shields, of the two knee pans two pieces like two oleander leaves. Take out its 26 ribs according to their order. Preserve every limb of it in, in its entirety. Thus, he benefits all its limbs. There remains two ceremonies to complete the sacrificial killing of the animal. One is to absolve the Brahmin priests who play the butcher's part. Theoretically, they are guilty of murder, for the animal is only a substitute for the sacrificer. To absolve them from the consequences of murder, the Hotar is directed by the Atriya Brahmin to observe the following injunction. Do not cut the entrails which resemble an owl when taking out the omentum, nor should among your children, O slaughters, or among their offspring anyone be found who might cut them. By speaking these words, he presents these entrails to the slaughterers among the gods as well as to those among men. The Hotar shall then say thrice, O Adrigu, and ye others, kill the animal, do it well, kill it, O Adrigu. After the animal has been killed, he should say thrice, far may it, the consequences of murder, be from us. For Adrigu among the gods is he who silences the animal, and the Apapa, away, away, is he who puts it down. By speaking these words, he surrenders the animal to those who silence it by stopping its mouth, and to those who butcher it. The Hotard then mutters, he makes japa, O slaughterers, may all good you might be do abide by us, and all mischief you might do go elsewhere. The Hotard gives thus, by this speech, the order for killing the animal, for Agni had given the order for killing the animal with the same words when he was the Hotar of the gods. By those words the Japa mentioned, the Hotar removes all evil consequences from those who suffocate the animal and those who butter it, in all that they might transgress the rule by cutting one piece too soon, the other too late, or by cutting a too large or a too small piece. The Hotar, enjoying this happiness, clears himself from all guilt and attains the full length of his life, and it serves the sacrificer for obtaining his full life. He who has such a knowledge attains the full length of his life. The Atriya Brahmana next deals with the question of disposing of the parts of the dead animal. In this connection, its directions are: dig a ditch in the earth to hide its excrements. The excrements consist of vegetable food, for the earth is the place for the herbs. Thus, the Hotar puts them, the excrements, finally in their proper places. Present the evil spirits with the blood, for the gods, having deprived once the evil spirits of their share in the Havir Yajnas, such as the full and new moon offerings, apportion to them the husk and smallest grains, and after having them turned out of the great sacrifice, such as the soma and animal sacrifices, present it to them the blood. Thence the Hutar pronounces the words, present the evil spirits with the blood. By giving them this share, he deprives the evil spirits of any other share in their sacrifice. They say one should not address the evil spirits in the sacrifice, and evil spirits, whichever they might be, that is, Rakshasa, Asura, etc., for the sacrifice is to be without the evil spirits, not to be disturbed by them. But others say one should address them, for he who deprives anyone entitled to a share of this share will be punished by him whom he deprives, and if he himself does not suffer the penalty, then his son, and if his son be spared, then his grandson suffer it. And thus he resents on him, the son or grandson, what he wanted to resent on you. However, if the Hotar addresses them, he should do so with a low voice, for both the low voice and the evil spirits are, as it were, hidden. If he addresses them with a loud voice, then such one speaks in the voice of the evil spirits and is capable of producing Rakshasa sounds, a horrible, terrific voice. The voice in which the haughty man and the drunkard speak is that of the evil spirits, Rakshasas. He who has such a knowledge will neither himself become haughty, nor will such a man be among his offspring. Then follows the last and the concluding ceremony, that of offering parts of the body of the animal to the gods. It is called the Manota. According to the Atreya Brahmana, the Advaryu says to the Hotar, recite the verses appropriate to the offering of the parts of the sacrificial animal which are cut off for the Manota. He then repeats the hymn, Thou, O Agni, art the first Manota. There remains the question of sharing the flesh of the animal. On this issue, the division was settled by the Atreya Brahmana in the following terms. Now follows the division of the different parts of the sacrificial animal among the priests. We shall describe it. The two jawbones with the tongue are to be given to the prastotar, the breast in the form of an eagle to the udgatar, the throat with the palate to the uh, patati hartar, the lower part of the right loins to the hotar, the left to the brahma, the right thigh to the maitra varuna, the left to the brahmana chamshi, the right side with the shoulder to the advaryan, the left side to those who accompany the chants, the left shoulder to the pratipashatar, the lower part of the right arm to the neshtar, the lower part of the left arm to the potar, the upper of the right thigh to the achavaka, the left to the agnidhara, the upper part of the right arm to the atreya, the left to the sadasya, the backbone and the urinary bladder to the grihapati, sacrificer, the right feet to the grihapati who gives a feasting, the left feet to the wife of that grihapati who gives a feasting, the upper lip is common to both the grihapati and his wife, which is to be divided by the grihapati. They offer the tail of the animal to wives, but they should give it to the brahmana. The fleshy process is manika on the neck and three gristles, fakasa to the gravastut, three other gristles and one half of the fleshy part on the back, vaikarta to the anatar, the other half of the fleshy part on the neck and the left lobe, kloma to the slaughterer, who should present it to a brahmana if he himself would not happen to be a brahman. The head is to be given to the Subramanya. The skin belongs to him, the Subramanya, who spoke Swasutyam tomorrow at the Soma sacrifice. That part of the sacrificial animal at a Soma sacrifice which belongs to Ha, sacrificial food, is common to all the priests, only for the Thotar it is optional. All these portions of the sacrificial animal amount to 36 single pieces, each of which represents the pada, foot, of a verse by which the sacrifice is carried up. The Brihati meter consists of 36 syllables, and the heavenly worlds are of the Brihati nature. In this way, by dividing the animal into 36 parts, they gain life in this world and the heavens, and having become established in both this and that world, they walk there. To those who divide the sacrificial animal in the way mentioned, it becomes the guide to heaven. But those who make the division otherwise are like scoundrels and miscreants who kill an animal merely for gratifying their lust after flesh. This division of the sacrificial animal was invented by the rishi Devabhaga, a son of Sruta. When he was departing from this life, he did not entrust the secret to anyone, but a supernatural being communicated it to Giraja, the son of Babhru. Since this time, men study it. What is said by the Atreya Brahmana places two things beyond dispute. One is that the Brahmins monopolized the whole of the flesh of the sacrificial animal. Except for a poultry pit, they did not even allow the sacrificer to share in it. The second is that the Brahmins themselves played the pan of butchers in the slaughter of an animal. As a matter of principle, the Brahmin should not eat the flesh of the animal killed at a sacrifice. The principle underlying yajna is that man should offer himself as sacrifice to the gods. He offers an animal only to release himself from this obligation. From this, it followed that the animal, being only a substitute for the man, eating the flesh of animal meant eating human flesh. This theory was very detrimental to the interest of the Brahmins, who had a complete monopoly of the flesh of the animal offered for sacrifice. The Atreya Brahmana, which had seen in this theory the danger of the Brahmins being deprived of the flesh of sacrificial animals, takes pains to explain away the theory by a simple negation. It says, the man who is initiated into the sacrificial mysteries offers himself to all deities. Agni represents all deities and Soma represents all deities. When he, the sacrificer, offers the animal to Agni Soma, he releases himself by being represented by the animal from being offered to all deities. They say, do not eat from the animal offered to Agni Soma. Who eats from this animal eats from human flesh, because the sacrificer releases himself from being sacrificed by means of the animal. But this precept is not to be attended to. Given these facts, no further evidence seems to be necessary to support the statement that the Brahmins were not merely beefeaters but they were also butchers. When did the Brahmins change front? Let us deal with their change of front in two stages. First, why did they give up beef eating? The end.